In this video, we will look at dynamic array formulas and functions. Dynamic array allows us to reference multiple values of data at once. This is a very powerful capability as it allows us to summarize our data more quickly than with traditional Excel functions. So looking over here just to give you more insights on how this works. This is an array, and if there was like numbers over here, that will be an array. Like over here, this is an array and that's an array. Using dynamic arrays, we're able to summarize or perform calculations way quicker than with traditional Excel functions. To kind of make it make sense, I will show you by demonstrating it. So here we have data from our properties. So it's revenue that we've collected, and we have the dates when this revenue was, recorded, right? So we want to calculate the cost of goods sold, the gross profit, and the gross margin. So basically what we're trying to do in a finance perspective is we're trying to say, hey, this revenue, it cost us this much to actually direct costs, right? That's what cost of goods sold looks at. It costs us directly this much to actually realize this revenue. That's the cost of sales. And then the gross profit would be when we realize this revenue cost us this much. So the difference between the revenue and the cost of goods sold will give you the gross margin. Now, the gross margin here percentage would just be looking at the metrics, how much of our revenue is left after we account for cost of goods sold. That's basically it, just to give you context. So we start with the cost of goods sold. It's 10% of revenue. So what we need to do with dynamic array is we just type equal, and all we need to do is we need to select all of this data. So it starts from D3 all the way. So shift control arrow down takes you to the last, selects everything all the way to the last cell. And now we multiply by what? All you need to do is multiply by this number here, which is that percentage, and press enter. Your cost of goods sold is calculated all the way down. You don't need to do any other thing. It autofills everything for you. Now, let's look at the gross profit. What is gross profit? Revenue minus cost of goods sold. Now we put the equal sign again. Revenue, we start D3 all the way down. We select that, minus. Without thinking about anything else, let's just select this other one, cost of goods sold. Shift control down, press enter. Everything is populated. So basically we've calculated the cost of goods sold and the gross profit margin within a few seconds. So what now is our gross margin? Our gross margin is the gross profit divided by the initial number, which is the revenues. So, but in terms of dynamic arrays, we would say select gross profit, the whole array, divide that by, now we need to select here and just press enter. So everything, so you see it costs us 10% as COGS. So what's left that's going to roll into our bottom line is the gross margin over here, and basically 90% is left. So that's one way to use dynamic arrays. Now let's go to another fun one. Now we have various prices and we have various units that we could sell. So we're trying to see the revenue given a certain unit sold and price. So if we increase price all the way from 50 to 170 and units sold from 500 to 900, what are the corresponding revenues that we will be realizing, right? So in order to do this quickly, we could use dynamic arrays as well. All you need to do is just here. So what do you want to do? You want to multiply this array here by this array and just press enter. That's it. These are the corresponding revenues that you will realize if you sell these quantities and those prices. So without really worrying about, multiplying one at a time, here you go. So if you wanted to know what's your ideal price point or how much revenue you want to realize, you could sell at various points out here. So that's another way that we could use dynamic arrays. Let me take you to the third one here. The third example is a fun one. So in finance, people get paid a base number, which is just the salary, right? And there are other things, PTB, right? There are other things that come in. And then in order to know your total payout or your total payroll, you need to account for bonus, vacation, and PTB, right? So in most cases, what you have is the base, and given certain percentage, you calculate your bonus and then the vacation and then the other benefits, including taxes and the likes, right? So you could use dynamic array to complete this pretty quickly instead of like doing it one at a time. So how do we do that? We will just type that. So what we want to multiply is this here, the base salaries. We want to multiply those by this here. And the next thing is just press enter. Now we have the bonus populated, vacation populated, and PTB. Now to know the total, all we need to do is just alt plus, and that's it. So we just autofill that. So basically the whole year we can just have 3.3 million is actually a total payroll. And at any point in time, you could read across and see how much the payroll was in January all the way to December prospective payroll. So that's another way that you could use dynamic arrays. Multiply this array by this array to give you all of this without having to do it individually. So that's another cool way to use dynamic array that I really love. So basically, there are many other ways that you could use dynamic arrays, and in the next videos I'll cover other examples. But just a quick recap, you can use dynamic array to multiply an array by just a certain number or cell, and you can multiply multiple arrays to generate that. And the same way, again, you could calculate your payroll information using dynamic arrays, and it's very quick and easy and very powerful. In fact, more efficient in most cases than the traditional Excel functions. So I hope you like this video. Let me know what you think.